hope so. And I appreciate,
I hit record.
yeah, I appreciate your faithfulness in this, because you're right. I continue to go whatever is next and next that I'm researching and adding to my research and putting together, or even looking at in my health practice and what I'm seeing with patients and seeing happening. And I just continue the next. And you're so faithful at saying, yeah, but Jennifer, slow it down and come back, because people are still at like square one. And I think part of that is my frustration that I get to that point where I'm like, yeah, but in the end, they're either driven towards actual health or they're not. But I forget that that mindset has to be addressed first of all. And because I don't think it's that they're not driven. I mean, we have this multi-billion-dollar industry as far as health, preventative health, like supplements and procedures and acupressure and chiropractic and exercise and all these things, right? And this multi-billion-dollar industry that's preventative. And then we have this trillion-dollar, whatever it is at now, industry that's pharmaceutical and sick care. That's not preventative. So the majority of our money in everywhere that we're spending money is going to this. And people don't realize that either. And that's all another topic, but people don't realize this. They keep saying, well, the vaccine's free, the vaccine's free, the vaccine's free. No, it's your kids who are paying for these things forever. And I saw a really great meme the other day, and I know it's just two cartoons, so you could draw a meme. And they said, so, hey, Pfizer, what made you really interested in promoting booster shots? And then the Pfizer cartoon went, money. Yeah, yes, money. Because these booster shots, the other day I was speaking with a friend of mine, really brilliant man who has made millions of dollars many times over. Brilliant man. And he got the first vaccine out of fear. And then he got the second one in timidity, kind of like, okay, I'm not really sure, but if they say you got to do the first one, you got to get the second one. So the other day I was having coffee with him and he got the third one, and I was talking to him, and he's had some issues each time with it, like most people have. And I was talking with him and I said, you realize that at this point, you're going to have to do something to either get that out of you, or you're on boosters for life, right? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, it's what I talked to you about. It's ADE. Your immune system is dependent upon these now. And he said, why? I don't understand, because honestly, Jennifer, when I got that third booster, I'm over 70 years old. I've had cancer and now I'm cancer free, but they made me fill out a form to see if I qualified for the third booster, even though they're telling us that we need a third booster. And when I filled out the form, they said, well, you haven't proven to us that your immune system is weak. And I said, wait a second, they asked you to prove your immune system is weak? He said, yeah. They said, we're giving the third booster, we're limiting it. We're only giving it to people whose immune system is weak. And I said, with all the money you've made, I will personally bet you $1 million right now that I don't have, that throughout all of human history, all of the vaccine history of 70 years plus of vaccine history, they have always avoided vaccinating immune compromised people. This is the first one that they're giving to people who are immune compromised. And they're asking you to prove that you're immune compromised to get it. Like, that's a prerequisite. The entire paradigm belief system has shifted a vaccination of what it is. It used to be, you are healthy, but we're going to train your immune system and how to deal with this one type of viral strain, right? This one strain. Now it's, you're sick, and while you're sick and your immune system isn't working, we're going to try to train an immune system that isn't working. That doesn't make sense. You would never tell an athlete, you're sick right now, let's go to work. Let's go practice. Let's go train.
Right.
If an athlete's sick, you say, take a break. When you get better, we'll train you in new techniques, in new things, in new drills, not when you're sick. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, what do you think is the big plan here? You're a smart man. I mean, he's traveled the world many times. This guy gets on a flight to Dubai just because. Smart man. right? And I said, what do you think is the plan if this causes you to be, even if immune compromised or not, if this causes you to have to use it to support your immune system, the antibody dependent? You have to use this to continue making the antibodies. And he said, oh, I thought it just helps me. And I said, yeah, it does help you, but then you become dependent upon it. You know, we understand, and I'm going to get back to that point in a second, but we understand if we don't exercise, we have muscular atrophy, right? If somebody, for whatever reason, God forbid, gets in a car accident and they become paraplegic and they cannot move their muscles and utilize their muscles, their muscles atrophy, right? The amount in which, and the rate in which it atrophies is the amount in which you're using it or not using it. So the less you use it, the faster it atrophies, right? The same thing is true with the brain. We see this in the senile, in the elderly community with going senile, that the less they're using their brain in interaction, in challenges, day-to-day conversations and challenges, the quicker they are to go senile, the quicker they are to have their brain atrophy. So they get into the retirement community and everything's provided. They don't have to go grocery shopping. They don't have to meal plan. They don't have to cook. They don't have to do anything. They just sit. And they want to go to bocce ball, they go. They want to go to meal, they go. And the decline and the rate of decline in their brain is correlating to the fact that they're not challenged in using their brain. Mm-hmm. That's the atrophy. This is what is happening in layman's terms, and in actual, not even layman's terms, this is what's happening with our immune system, with this technology. Our immune system is atrophy because we're not using it. That's just, we know this. These are the laws of how our bodies work. This isn't like, well, that's crazy, prove it in a PubMed study. This is literally how our bodies work. If we do not use it, we lose it. And because we're not being forced to use it with this technology, we're losing it with our ability to have our immune system work against all other viral strains and bacterial strains. So we literally might be getting, and I'll say maybe, because we don't have the long-term studies, we're better against this one strain as it is right now before it adapts, because it's always changing, it's always adapting. You know, it adapted 26 times in the first 3 months. So let's say that this isn't adapting and we're better with this one strain, which we know the science is proving that's not true, because people who are fully vaccinated again and again are contracting COVID-19. But let's say that it does work with this one strain. It's so weakening your immune system and atrophying it that you now are susceptible to all other trillions of viruses and bacteria. Trillions. And I said, so in other words, you have to, just for this one strain, continually get that booster. And I said, with what you know about sales, what does that mean? And he said, that's a customer for life. And I said, that's the plan. And everybody who's sitting there for months now, for 2 years now, people have asked me, so what, you think they're just bad guys? You think they're out there trying to kill everybody? I said, no, I don't. I'm not going to even go on record as pro or anti-vaccine. I think there are brilliant people in this field who really believe in this technology to really help humanity. I do. But the bottom line is that we don't have long-term studies. It wasn't ethically pulled out. I mean, it wasn't ethically rolled out. And you now, even with what we know, based on the scientific data, at best case scenario, are requiring people to be long-term customers. Forever.
It's a great sales plan. I mean, that's the most perfect sales pitch you can ever, not sales pitch, the perfect sales program. That you can't get any better than that.
Yeah. And then when we push it one step further, I said, so all those issues that you ran into to getting to that third shot that you now require, that, not just against COVID-19, you require that in hopes that just against COVID-19, because you don't know what's going to happen with all the other viruses, right? Or the bacteria. So, because it doesn't work against bacteria, but still your immune system works as a whole. If you get sick with the bacteria, sick with the virus, you're more susceptible to bacteria and vice versa, right? Your whole terrain. I said, so what's going to happen if you went through all of those hoops to get the third booster? What do you think the long-term plan is for this free shot for people to have to go through hoops to get what they require to literally live. Not only are you creating long-term customers, you're creating long-term customers who will pay anything to survive.
Right. Yeah. Because they'll need it. Yeah. Well said. You're right. Yeah, that's definitely I would say on one of many levels, it's a multi-tiered program that they've got set up that really, I mean, I'm a little biased. I'm like, it's meant to enslave us. I mean, it's meant to enslave humanity financially.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's what it's doing. You're going to have people lining up to get vaccines, which we already do, but you're going to have people lining, you know, I saw it, man, it almost enrages me. I saw it the first time it came out. Here is Bill Gates, who has no medical certifications. Like literally their media right now is Elmo, Big Bird, and Bill Gates. And they're like, yeah, but are you a doctor? I mean, I know you've done your research, but who are you to question it? You're not a doctor, but Big Bird is. So I can't question about my personal health history, my personal medical history, what I know about my genetics, which I do know, and I help people with, but I'm supposed to listen to Big Bird. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But I saw it, the same thing happen with the iPhone. When iPhone first came out, iPhone 1, iPhone 2, iPhone 3, iPhone 4, Bill Gates is brilliant. That marketing plan is so great that people would sit outside in line with a working phone to get the next version of the phone because of 1 or 2 updates on that app.
Mm-hmm.
That is what is happening here. You're going to have people sitting outside in lines for what may be 1 or 2 updates on something, but at this point, they have to because their life will depend on it. With ADE, that autoimmune dependency, I mean, the antibody dependency, like their life will depend on it. It's brilliant. It's horrific. It's crimes against humanity.
Yeah,
but it's brilliant.
It is. With the Nuremberg Code, it's funny when you go through the list, the 10 codes that are on there. I'm like, it's like a violation of every single one of those, and every
one of them.
I'm like, how can we? I mean, I don't even know how we're even continuing on with all this because I doubt I jump into the mainstream media once in a while just to kind of see what's going on. And it blows my mind because it's like, I feel like I'm looking at something like on a reality TV show because I'm like, this whole narrative that's being totally spread out through all these different news stations, magazines and stuff, newspapers. It's like, it's one narrative. And then I have to dive in a little bit. I go, well, I can see why people are following this narrative because this is all the information that they're allowing themselves access to. So when you dig in a little bit and you start finding and connecting the dots and there's not that, you don't have to connect too many dots to see really this big picture. Now, I don't think anybody really actually knows what the big picture is, except for a very few amount of people that are, engineering all of this, and who have been bred and born to continue what's been going on for thousands and thousands of years. But I could see why people are still following that narrative. But it's like, once you get out of that and you start seeing the real side of the situation here, it's pretty nuts. And it's like you're saying, this guy was a millionaire, right? Sales guy, super smart guy. There's so many smart people out here in the world that are doctors and lawyers and engineers and all kinds of stuff that are still following that narrative. And it's a very deep hypnosis. And it's,
I will say though, there was studies done before all this rolled out and studies since then, as far as what compromise, I mean, what is the people who are questioning vaccine narrative, what are those mostly comprised of as far as people, right? And I'm all stretchy and everything, and you're on record, so I don't even know if this is actual podcast part or not. So if anybody's watching this, I'm sorry. This is Jennifer in real life. So
yes.
But what are they mostly comprised of, right? And it is people who have at least a college level education, the people who are considered anti-vax, the people who question the vax. So the majority of that group that is questioning vax are the people who have higher education. They did so much research about this that there were articles about it saying it's white privilege. It's white privilege to do this because you have access to a higher education. So wait a second, if I put that in layman's terms, what you're saying is because I've learned how to think logically, how to speak logically, and how to look at things through logical analysis of what like refutation, thesis, and all this, and analyzing it, white or not, that's wrong. That should be shunned. That should be looked down upon. And if anything, if the people who have learned how to analyze this correctly are analyzing it and walking away from it, shouldn't we too be looking at it, even if we don't have access to that type of education, looking at it and going, maybe there is something there. Maybe we too should ask them why they think this and walk through that.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah, absolutely. I'd like to know that mental process for sure.
yeah.
Because I mean, I can relate because I really, until a couple of years ago, I was being ignorant. I was, willfully ignorant. It's like only thing that mattered was my family's life and my life. And I think that's where a lot of people are, it's that moral relativism. It is. It's very reptilian based. And most of us are stuck in reptilian brain. We go up a little bit to the mammalian brain. We have those emotions and memories and we have that experience, but not a whole lot of people really are getting into that neocortex, the complex brain. And this is the part of the brain that will set people free. It's when they'll see the real purpose, the real, what it really means to be an individual and then in relation to the consciousness of everyone here on this planet. My feeling is that this has just been suppressed intentionally for a long time. But on the other end of the token, we as a collective and individuals have allowed this to happen. We've allowed ourselves to stay ripped.
Yeah, for sure. It goes back to that atrophy thing, that belief, everything's yin and yang, everything's push and pull. But when things are easy, we want to stay in the easy. We're like, yeah, but this is so easy. And we do. Yeah. But then what happens when you're not using it, when you're not challenged? You atrophy. And then that's why you see, like the Bible says, kingdoms rise and fall, right? That's why you see these kingdoms rise and fall around an approximate 200-year cycle is what it is. According to historians, we see kingdoms rise and fall, and we're just after that, right? We're at 250 years with the US, and we're seeing the rise and fall and rise and fall. And the fall doesn't have to necessarily be like it's completely gone. England's been around for a while, but it's like a shifting of it. It's a shifting of power, a shifting of how they process things, and we're at that. There's completely a shifting from what was the beautiful beginnings of this country of I am responsible for me. I'm going to work hard and the sky is the limit. I can achieve anything I put my mind to. And if you tell me no, I'm going to find a different way. Just this like pioneer drive, right?
Yeah.
And it's gone from that to what are you going to give me because this is hard for me right now. And so what are you going to give me? Yeah. And we've become weak. There's so many, I tell you, so many people over the past 2 years as I drove cross country, handing out information to everyone and people spitting in my face, throwing it down, just handing out, just wake up, people. Look, these are actual PubMed studies from the beginning. These are the actual studies just on piece of it. Can you at least look at it, right? And laughed at, scorned, everything else. And all the while I've been thinking, where did our country go wrong? And it wasn't until I realized my pride, my hubris, and going, this is what happens though. This is the human experience. It gets easy and we want to hold the easy. We don't want to walk into the challenge. And that's where we walk through it. That's what we're walking through again right now. Because right now, when I look around, I'm like, where are the people who are actually going to do something? So many people were outright not even willing to look at that paper. But then so many others were wearing a mask. Did you hear my ringtone?
No, it's quiet on this side.
Yeah, it's smooth operator. It was fun. Anyway, so many other people are willingly wearing a mask and saying, but I'll never get a vaccine. I'll never get a vaccine. I'll never get a vaccine. And they're willingly wearing a mask saying, but I'm not going to let this happen much longer. And then when I ask them, what are you doing about it? It's going to blow over. Or they say, well, when it gets bad enough, we're going to do something. We're going to rise up. We're not putting up with this shit. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. So even the ones who are waking up or supposedly awoken to this and supposedly against it are sitting by idly, watching it happen in a victimhood mentality. And that victimhood mentality is the same mentality of, yeah, but this is hard for me. What are you going to do to make it easier? Yeah, but this is hard for me. What are you going to do to make this go by faster? Yeah, but my rights say that you can't do that. Are you standing in your rights? Just because you have those rights doesn't mean somebody else is going to stand in them for you. We know that the government's job is to protect our rights and freedoms, not to enact the things that they are enacting with mandates, which are not laws. And yet they're a complete opposition of why they are elected, which is to protect our individual inalienable rights. So you're sitting here saying, I have these rights. What are you doing about those rights? Nothing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people too don't know what to do, because that's a big question. Like, well, what do I do? Right. The other thing is a lot of people don't know what their rights are. And a lot of people don't, know what the Constitution is, or have read anything in the Constitution. I'm guilty too, and so all this really started happening a couple of years ago. That forced me personally into researching this stuff, because, we were talking about this 2 years ago, or whenever this first happened. We saw everything coming down the pike. We knew that it was going to come down to this time, but we're not exactly sure what's going to happen on the other end of it. We have ideas what will happen if more people don't start to recognize, that it makes me also think too. Sometimes I feel like people don't mind being like in the slave mentality, almost like they
don't.
It's like I'd rather have
perpetuation thing very much.
I'd rather have the government take care of all the stuff the government's supposed to do. I'll listen to anything that they say. If they say, jump, I'll say how high. I think a lot of people are really in that sort of mentality, have been driven into that through society, through television, through entertainment. Everything has just got people just very complacent and compliant, but on the other end of it, of course, there's people like you and I that are, screaming from the rooftop sometimes, like, please wake up, because this ship is sinking and we need more people to plug the holes. Because if we don't get enough people to plug the holes, then the whole boat's going to go down. And this, to me, it literally means humanity. It means that if we let ourselves slip into the slave master, slave mind, 100, 200, 300 years from now, there's not going to be much of humanity. And especially, I'm going to bring in the transhumanism. Oh,
you don't have hundreds. That's not hundreds. You're talking 50 years.
Yeah, probably. Look by
up Agenda 2050, Agenda 2030, all that. Like, you're talking like 50 years right now.
Very
because
soon. Yeah.
The thing, as far as earlier, and anybody, if you do turn this portion into a podcast, which again, I said, I apologize because I'm in just Jennifer hangout in her living room mode. But if you turn this portion into a podcast, it go back earlier to where I talked about the ADE and how they have created a system of lifelong customers where you have to continue the vaccine once you get it, or you can die, right? Like that's what we're looking at. And if you don't believe me, look up ADE and stuff. That's not me treating, prescribing, diagnosing. This is what we're seeing happening. So you've created a system in which you have to have, and people have to be lifelong customers in order to survive. So then from there comes the next thing I said over 2 years ago. The masks lead to mandatory vaccines, which leads to mandatory passports, which leads to you being part of a government social credit score system.
Yep.
So we're now past the masks, past the vaccine, which is what I said. Now a mandatory vaccine passport, which is the next thing, right? Which is exactly what I said was going to happen, how this was going to lay out. I said, anybody who watches me, go back 2 years ago, man. I was saying. The next thing is it's a social credit score. This is what's happening with credit card companies and stuff, where they're trying to combine with the social credit score, not just your vaccine, but have you had your vaccine? So you're buying into the system, you're part of the system, but also what's your environmental score. Credit card companies are now rolling this out with a voluntary program, which is, that's how they all begin, voluntary, right? They all begin that way, of tracking your expenditures based and giving you feedback on what that's like for the environment. Are you buying a lot of red meat? Are you buying a lot of gas? Are you, the things that they say are bad for the environment, which, by the way, anybody listening to this who thinks that's good, there are studies that prove that the bacteria under the earth produce more carbon than all of humanity, all of the cars, and all of the animals on the earth. So what are we we're gonna ban the bacteria under the earth now? Now we're gonna do that? Or the rebuttal of, well, it produces so much that we should produce less. No, it's existed forever. We are carbon beings. These are lies that are twisted. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So
Climate change.
back to back to what I was saying as far as the credit card company. So you're going to get a report about your usage. That in the next 3 to 5 years, and I think it's really 3 at most, will be linked with your vaccine passport and all of your ability to use money, which is what a lot of countries are doing, including Biden. They're pushing to where any account over $600 they can monitor. So your ability to access your money that you work for and your ability to earn money and work for money. So buying and selling will be linked to whether you're part of the system of vaccination and reliant upon it. And depending on how they say whether or not you can buy a steak or buy gas. Oh, you know what? You didn't get a vaccine this month. You're not allowed to go buy gas to get to work. Oh, you bought gas to get to work this month, but you bought a steak too. You can't buy any more gas to get to work. It's complete control.
Yeah.
And you're looking at 3 years. Like, honestly, I think it's 3 years.
Oh, yeah, I sure hope that. I know that's this big dystopian future I see too coming in real quick with that whole. It's gonna be wild to see what happens during that time.
Well, people watching this, I've had these conversations with people, and they go, "No way, man! I'm not gonna let that happen." These same people who say, "No way, man! I'm not gonna let that happen," are the same people who over the past 2 years, when I've had these conversations with exactly what I said was going to work out, which it did, exactly the timeline in which it's come out, which is what I said. They're the same people who said, yeah, but people will rise up, but they themselves are not rising up. And so I'm glad when I do see articles here and there of people rising up, because that's why our forefathers said with that join or die yellow flag that you see wave, join or die.
Yep.
If we're separated, it doesn't matter how much we don't believe in it, don't agree with it. If we are not united, then we will die.
Yeah, it'll be the end of humanity. Then this is where we come into the transhumanism aspect of this. I think that, I mean, of course, I don't know this, but from what I've seen, with all the gender stuff going on, the sort of manipulation of people psychologically, the sort of it's very like a hermaphroditic kind of like concept or psychology of there not really being any sort of gender. When you think of AI and you think of transhumanism, you think of everything Elon Musk is doing with Neuralink. And actually,
oh my gosh, the Internet of Bodies. Anybody who wants to look into this, literally just look into the term Internet of Bodies. They outwardly say this, that we have technology that we're putting into people that regulates and gives us feedback about your body systems and other things.
Yeah.
It can help, it can regulate your emotions, your neurotransmitters. It literally can make you believe and do things. This is not a conspiracy. Look up the Internet of Bodies. It's promoted technology that's out there. And it's not just the hermaphroditic belief system or push or drive where you're neither, it's homogenized. Because it's not just hermaphrodite. It's not just like you're neither male or female. It's homogenized. That's what the pedophilia drive is. It doesn't matter if you're an adult. It doesn't matter. It's all eugenics. It's your cattle. You are cattle. It doesn't matter if you're young. It doesn't matter if you're old. It doesn't matter if you're black, if you're white, if you're a woman, if you're a male. All ability to be proud of who you are is removed because you are nothing but cattle.
Yeah.
And what they do with that is these beliefs again and again of victimhood of instead of being proud of who you are, seeing yourself as helpless, hopeless, and a victim.
Yeah, it's really the bottom of that fear mentality, the fear reptilian. We're going right into that reptilian mindset, right? I mean, that's what's happening. They're keep being suppressed down here into that part of the brain where it is basic survival. And when we're basically surviving, what are we not willing to do? We're not willing to live. We're not willing to be fully expressive, because what happens when we're fully expressive? Then that's when we get the slap on the wrist, or you're not your social credit score. You're not going to get anything, any more credits because you're being too expressive. You need to follow the orders more. You need to
Yeah,
listen
it's
more.
cattle.
And you know, it's funny. I just saw this article about the airlines and about you know, a lot of these pilots, they weren't getting vaccinated, but once the airlines were forcing it, then it went from like 90 to 99%. You know, and I know that they've pulled back because that 1% probably is like, no, we're not going to do this, bottom line. But it just
They
goes to
joined
show you,
together and then pulled back.
people generally, when they're faced with the ultimate ultimatum, we go right into that survival mode, and we're willing to sacrifice a lot of things. And the big one is our freedom. We're willing to sacrifice our personal freedom because we're afraid of what may happen to us or our family. But I think this is important because I think the hard part I find is becoming knowledgeable in all of this and researching, because I tell you, I've not done so in 40 years. The last 2 years, I've done more research than I can possibly even fathom. And a lot of it is just bringing it into my whole field, bringing it into my mind, my body, my emotions, and not necessarily writing it down or doing podcasts on it, or it's just allowing my body to consume all of this so that intuitively, subconsciously, that I have a better stake at creating a better future, you know, for my family, for myself, and hopefully reach people that will do the same thing, because there's a definite split. There's people that are going to be, I'd just rather be a slave. And there's other people who are like, nah, I'll do whatever it takes for the freedom of myself, my family, and my country and my world, you know. And there's got to be more of those people that are willing to put it on the line, you know, say the things that you're being censored for saying, you know, talk to the people out in the public about it, talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to anybody you can. And you're just being honest and open and truthful. And most people, the people that they call the conspiracy theorists, and I saw this somewhere, I don't know if they did a study or something, but they said, listen, the conspiracy theorist people actually know more than the people who accuse the people of being
because they're out there doing the research without.
Yes.
So the people who are conspiracy theorists, whether you want to agree with their theory or not, because theories are just a theory until they're proven, right? You can have theories all day. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that we scientifically have in our actual academic books and literature that are just theories. They're not proven yet.
Right.
But we don't call them a conspiracy. The term conspiracy theory was actually coined in the 1950s to silence people who questioned the norm, questioned the agenda, right?
But yet to
FBI question the norm, to question the norm, they question the CIA, which is actually interesting that all these people who are, you know, I'm a free thinker, I'm woke, but then they called the other people a conspiracy theorist for actually questioning, which is literally what it is to be a free thinker and woke. It is. But to question is to grow. We cannot have scientific advancements without the ability of us questioning what is a theory, a hypothesis, until it is proven as a law or proven to be true. We have to continue to question. Fauci said the other day, to question Fauci is to question science itself. No, to question is science itself. That's actually what I would say to him. I would say to question is science itself.
Right.
Fauci should be questioning. Everybody should be questioning. To question is human. To question is science. To question is the beauty of what it is to create great art. How do I feel about this? Why do I feel this? What do I do with it? To question is the essence of humanity.
Yeah.
That's what's being silenced. So every time I say something about conspiracy theory, I want to rage, because it's silencing the essence of what it is to be human. What does a child ask when they're a toddler to grow? Why? How many of us did that in school and were silenced just to regurgitate what they told us was true, for us to find out 20 years later there's a better way? And I don't mean that we shouldn't have education systems or laws or regulations, but there's ebb and flow to everything. To question is what it is to be human and have this experience and to grow.
Absolutely. I mean, if you pull back from it and you go, well, we live in an infinite universe with an infinite potential. This basically means that there is nothing but questions. I mean, if you're living in that realm, it's like you question. And so this is when we begin to understand the universe, we begin to understand the world in relation to us and our observation as an expression of this universe. It never ends. It keeps on going. So you're right. When I think that's why when people like you and I, look at the world and circumstances and things going on, we're always questioning it. So and they're saying, don't question it. They're saying it's finite. We have this figured out. Don't question anything. Don't say anything other than what we're saying. Well, it's like, no, it's not finite. It's not like that. It's almost actually infinite. And yeah, there is facts and there is things that's truth inside of this. But it takes a lot of questions to get that. And I was just having this conversation with Tracy this morning, because I've been putting together the docu-series that you and I did about terrain theory and about germ theory. Well, if you look at the main narrative right now, it's all completely on germ theory.
All of it. And yet it's even, not only is it germ theory, but it's germ theory bastardized, because germ theory understands there's trillions of viral material and bacterial material in and on and around us. There's more viral and bacterial DNA on and around us than there is our own human DNA. So at least germ theory at least does it justice to some extent to say, hey, there's a lot of these germs. It's a bastardization of prioritizing based on their agenda, the germ that they have isolated that we should focus on, because they're saying we should focus on it because they themselves have found a way that if we focus on it, they're going to make trillions of dollars. It's not even germ theory. It's a bastardization and a monetization of germ theory.
Yeah, it's really wild. I think it's hard for, I think, a lot of people to, and I have a few people in mind that I have these conversations with that are opposed the way I look at things, because they want to choose looking at things like there's nothing going on in the world that's out of the norm. This is just the way things are, yada yada. But I think a lot of people find it really hard to believe that, and how could anybody pull anything off as big as a lie? How can people? That's why I think a lot of people don't go that way, because
it's not that big of a lie. And honestly, look at how many times this has happened before. Like, that's my question. They might say, how many times has this happened before where you're going to go, I am a sentient being with the ability to question what is right for me personally and not, and I'm going to do that. Because until you do that, you're living in victimhood of someone
Right.
else is responsible for asking the good questions about what does or does not go in my body. So we are on a totally different level until you're willing to admit and accept ownership that you're a sentient being with the ability to ask questions, question the norm, look at how this has happened that many times, and have a conversation about what you want to do, what's right for you personally.
Right. I think that's a really amazing point. And I think there's just a lot of people who have that victimhood mentality. And I don't mean in a bad way, but in that, like, I'm not good enough, low self-esteem.
Well, the school system raised them like that. The school system itself has been promoted that way. Classical education is how I raised my children, and that's the art of learning how to question well, right? How do we articulate and look at things logically and question well and come up with refuting statements, right? That's what we do. The public school system and education has been, how do you, as fast as possible, memorize and regurgitate what you're told to say? You have no voice. You have no voice. And so, of course, we're putting out generations of people who are risen, who now are saying, yeah, but I have a job. How'd you get that job? In their mind, it was by having no voice. It was by memorizing, regurgitating really fast, faster than that person, that person, and that person. They call that a GPA.
Yeah. I remember I was a straight A student, and the only reason why I had a good memory. And all I'd have to do, I remember this every night. Oh, you have a big test tomorrow. I would just cram study. I wouldn't listen. I never listened in class. As a matter of fact, I skipped, I don't want my son to hear me, but I skipped more. I learned how to skip and get away with it.
Me
right?
too.
And
Yeah.
I was hardly really ever there, like during the actual school courses like I did after athletics and stuff. But I had a 4.0 GPA. It's just because I knew their system. I knew it was all just memorize and take the test. And that's all it really ever was. I ended up dropping out of high school because I couldn't stand it. Even then, I was like, this is all bullshit. I'm not encouraging anybody to drop out of high school by any means. But me personally, at the time, I was like, there's this big world out there, and I want to learn from the world, not from what the school is teaching me, because you're not teaching me really anything. that I felt was valuable. Of course, that created a big problem in the family. You know, your mom and dad don't want, you know, their kids dropping out of high school and stuff. But
But at the same
anyways,
time, look at that same issue that it's creating now with you questioning the norm with COVID-19.
right. I think I've always been this
Yeah.
way, questioning the system. I've never been really a big part of the system. It just always was kind of weird and wrong to me the way.
And that therein is the problem. Look at what happened with Hitler. Look at what happened with the Nazis and all that. Again and again, when people were asked, how did we get to this point? They said, we didn't question. We kept our noses down. We thought if we do this, we'll survive. We thought it'll blow over. These are a compilation of what I'm paraphrasing of a bunch of answers, but that's what they said. We thought it would blow over. We thought if we just kept our noses down, we thought it's fine if we just do what they say. It's just a little bit longer, just 2 weeks to flatten the curve, just 6 months, just a little bit longer. It's literally the exact same playbook. And the people who created change, the people who are in the history books as heroes are the ones that did that which you did, Logan, which is question the norm. That's why. Why are they in the history books as heroes? Why is Rosa Parks in the history book as a hero? She said one word, no. She questioned the norm. Like I'm sure whoever's watching this, if you put this out there, here's how emotional I get about. We have to be able to have the ability to question the norm. How do you know if you're in an unhealthy relationship? I work with relationships a lot with people. The first sign, they're not able to express their feelings. They're not allowed to. They're not allowed to question, why are we doing this?
Right.
Why can't I say that? Because if they do, they're shut down, they're quieted, they're ridiculed, they're hit, their rights or privileges and access to money or the freedom to be able to go out, do whatever it is and be free is taken away. One of the first signs of an abusive, unhealthy relationship is you are not allowed to question. And yet we are perpetuating that as a world, not even a society, a world right now, saying, who are you to question? I am me. I am. Therefore, I question.
Right. Yeah.
Rosa
Powerful.
Parks, imagine how different the world would be right now. Our country would be right now and the world if Rosa Parks had been told, who are you to question, which she was. Imagine if she had silenced herself at that moment and said, you're right. Who am I to question? Who am I to say no? No. We must welcome the ability to question, or we do not grow, we do not express, we live in an abusive society and relationship with anyone and everything, everyone and everything if we cannot question. That is what that is.
Yeah, that's very well put. That's awesome. You're right. That has to be that question. And as you were saying that, what I was feeling was this word freedom came in, right? Because we kind of are on the scroll talking about this, but then it was like, well, what is freedom? And then I started hearing these things saying, well, you know, I don't want to, you know, get the jab. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not any blah, 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 blah. So I can't fly. I can't go certain places. Then it was like, well, that's not freedom. Freedom is when somebody allows themselves the ability to feel anything they want, because you could literally be in a jail cell and be the most free person in the world, because it's not about the geographical location. You know, it's the perception of, I am allowed to feel anything I want. And it's boundless. That's, I'm trying to really express it. I don't know if I'm getting it out right.
Here's where they've taken it to the other extreme. So I was reading an article from here in Virginia right now of somebody who's revered in the academic community, and they're promoting pedophilia. And they're promoting pedophilia and they're renaming it as mature audience, I don't know, something else, MAP, whatever that is. So whoever's watching this, if you put this out, you can look it up, MAP, but they're renaming pedophilia as MAP. They were asked why, like, well, are you ashamed of being a pedophile? They said, no, I'm not ashamed of being a pedophile. Just this community prefers to be called MAP because other people are more accepting of that. Okay. And backtracking and looking over it, what's happened over the past 10 to 15 years is that I am proud, right? Diversity, pride. And it's turned from lesbian and gay pride to trans pride to pedophilia pride, just proud. Here's the thing. I'm not saying don't be you. If you want to be you, be you. I do not agree with pedophilia in any manner. But if you want to be you, but know that for that to fully be expressed, for diversity to fully be expressed, other people get to question. Other people get to, like Rosa Parks, say no. Other people get to draw their own individual boundaries and say, I get that you want to be called cis, this. I am going to call you he or she, because that's how I identify. That's how I see you. That's what I'm going to do. And if you want those things, you can find the people who do that. That's your community or whatever you want. I'm not going to demand that you speak in a certain way, just like you don't get to demand that I speak in a certain way. You get your freedom, I get mine. You can't say it's diversity and only certain groups get to actually have access to that.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening right now with what's happening with Fauci and everything else. To question, Fauci said, to question Fauci is to question science. No, to question is science. You get to have your beliefs based on your parameters of how you're applying the studies. I get to have mine based on my parameters of how I'm applying the studies.
Yeah.
These are not scientific truths. These are not scientific laws. This is our understanding of the application of these PubMed studies and what is coming out as the latest medical research. Your understanding and application can be different than mine. And to question it is what creates scientific truths, scientific laws, and scientific advancements. That cannot happen if we cannot question it based on ad hominem attacks of saying, well, who are you to do that?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it's become. Certain groups get to have pride. Certain groups get to have a voice. Certain groups get to have a say. No, all groups. All groups.
Yeah.
That little
well
kid
said.
who's afraid of the pedophile, they get to have a private bathroom. And it doesn't matter how you feel about that. You feeling offended that you don't get to go to the bathroom with my little girl is not a thing. You want a bathroom? You get your bathroom. You get your bathroom. And if you want little girls to come in there, see what happens. See if that happens. But they get to have their bathroom and their choice. And I guarantee you they will not go in that bathroom with you.
Yeah, that's a real that one there's a tough topic there with the whole pedophile thing. I don't know. It just makes me feel sick to my stomach whenever I think about that. It's almost like
It enrages me. I have lost friends. And I wouldn't say I've lost friends. They chose to go their way and I chose to go mine, which again, that's the questioning. Being able to question, you get to make your choice, right? But they chose to go a different way and were enraged at me when the whole bathroom thing came out years ago. Remember that? And I said, no, I will never agree with gendered bathrooms, same gendered bathrooms, ever. I personally was raped as a child. I will never agree with my daughter being in a bathroom, or even my sons. At that age, I had younger boys being in a bathroom with the same with grown men. I will never agree with that.
Yeah.
And then they go on these tangents and they're like, well, what about grown women? And what about this? And what about, and I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm able to be in there and protect them. But I'm not going to be able to feel comfortable in a bathroom where there are grown men, and neither is my daughter. And neither are my little sons. Like this shouldn't be a thing. If they're upset because they don't get to go pee with someone, that's ridiculous. How about I want to be able to know that I get to go pee in safety? I think my ability to go pee in safety somewhere where I'm dropping my pants is more important than you want to share a bathroom experience with someone. This is not a picnic table. This is urination. Like, you don't need to be able to complain that you're not feeling friendly and fuzzy and cozies and hanging out with someone in the bathroom like you're playing and they're playing Foursquare. This is not a picnic table. You don't need to complain about how you don't get to pee with. You do get to say, I want privacy. I want my voice. I want to be able to feel safe. And so when there are people in this community, as far as homosexual, trans, everyone, they deserve to feel safe. Fully deserve to be safe. I do not agree with any discrimination at all, ever, based on religion, anything. I don't. You deserve to feel safe. Even if you're a pedophile, I fully believe you deserve to feel safe. You have things that you need to walk through, and you cannot do that if you're not safe. But everybody else gets to be safe too. You don't get to say that you don't feel safe and then take other people's safety.
Right.
That's not fair.
Yeah. That makes me think of the real 7 deadly sins. And on that list is, well, basically it's anything that causes harm to another sentient being, or
Yep.
anything that robs or steals something from somebody else is a cardinal universal law in sin. So I think it doesn't matter what you are, like you're talking about, whatever you identify with, whatever, as long as your actions are not creating any harm or stealing something from another human being, then that means they're safe and you're playing your part in keeping them safe and yourself safe. And this is, I think that's real basic that anybody on a moral scale can say. That's a pretty simple thing to look at. But what we're seeing now is that this diversity is not happening in a way that is a sentient diversity of people. It's a divided, low-level, fear-based mentality of driving people further and further apart. Of be careful what you say, how you say things, when you say it, because it's going to offend somebody. And then it's like, what? This doesn't make any sense.
But we're meant to be offended. That's what happens. When I'm offended, I'm challenged. It goes back to that muscular atrophy, the brain atrophy, emotional atrophy, immune system atrophy. If we are not challenged, we become weak. So
Yeah,
we're
you're
meant
right.
to be challenged. And then when you're challenged, you're able to reflect and go, do I agree with what they just said? Do I not agree with what they just said? Where do I feel about that? How am I feeling about that? And then that's where you go and you get to express how you feel about that.
Right. It's like when you're really standing in your authority, truly, that anybody can say anything to you as their opinion, and it's not going to affect you the same way as if you're not standing in your authority. And these are 3 things that came up recently that I found to be really important when I was sort of asking myself, how can I be, and how can we grow together as a collective consciousness? What are some things? The words that came up was transparency, authenticity, and vulnerability. And I know these are all words that we've heard lots of people say throughout time, but I think it's really important when people are growing.
Authenticity and what?
Transparency, authenticity, and
authority.
Vulnerability. These are things that, because this conversation is kind of making me think about that, when you're seeing this diversity, people arguing and afraid to offend other people. That doesn't really happen if you're really, an authentic person, you're transparent, and you're not afraid to be vulnerable. That means when you're vulnerable, that means you are standing in your authority. You're allowing yourself to be open to anybody's opinion or comment, and it's not going to affect you as much because you're already there. You feel that sentient energy.
Yeah, I was teaching about these things in the I Am course. And one of the things I say as an analogy to people is I say, okay, imagine somebody comes up to you and says, you're a 9-foot tall hippopotamus, so I cannot stand you. I cannot stand you. You would laugh, right? But how many times do we hear things from friends, family, even passerbys that kind of get under our skin, where we're in the shower later, rehashing what they said, reprocessing it, rethinking of it. The reason we do that is because there's something there that they said that even if it's completely not true, there's a portion of it that we recognize as true within ourselves. And until we process what that is, that lesson, it's going to bother us. It's going to eat away at us. And it's going to show up in other people too. Until you get to a point where when they say those things that you are so stupid, you're just so dumb. And we go, that's crazy. That's like saying I'm a 9-foot tall hippopotamus. That's like not a thing.
Right.
Then we're able to stand truly in our authority and go, wow, you know what? I really am so completely at peace in who I am, I am, that it doesn't matter what they say.
Right.
But those opportunities that come up where you are challenged, you're irritated, you're frustrated, you will either see those as opportunities of places for you to grow stronger, or you will see them in victimhood and go, but I'm offended. I'm feeling this. I am feeling that. I am sad. Your I am in those is your choice though. I am given this opportunity. I am growing stronger. I am learning, or I am offended. I am upset. I am hurt. Those beliefs are your choice.
Yeah.
But the outcome is still your choice too.
Yeah.
In one, you're growing stronger, and in the other, you're growing weaker. you're shunning away, you're shutting down, you're pulling away. One, you grow so strong that you can stand in front of a million people no matter what they say. And it's beautiful. And you know you're already out. The other, you're upset by one person you don't even know who is standing next to you at the mailbox today.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. That kind of makes me think too, of that saying, it depends, there's, a good wolf on this shoulder and a bad wolf on that one. And, it all depends on which wolf you feed. And it's like, we usually, in this dualistic kind of reality, we see ourselves going one way, feeding the one or feeding the other. And like you're saying, which I am do you want to feed? I'm not good enough. I'm not supported. I'm not secure. Or I'm
hurt. I'm offended. I'm challenged.
Right. Yeah. It's I am courageous. I am, a loving person. I am
growing stronger.
Yeah, I am growing stronger. Right. Exactly. I think that these are really basic and profound concepts that can move, help move people individually and eventually collectively into a whole new world, eventually a whole new world. And but anyway, yeah, it's pretty amazing, because I was talking with Tracy about this earlier too, was, Tracy and I have been having these same kind of conversations for 20 years. You know what I mean? These same conversations. And it's like, well, why is it now so much more profound than it ever was? It's like before, it wasn't just not as profound as it is now. Like, and I'm going to kind of get a little maybe woo here, but I feel like there is just a massive change and shift happening in the universe.
Oh my gosh, it's so big. It's so big. It's until 2023, which we've talked about this. It's until 2023. And then in 2027 is whatever's coming that's new. And so it's like right now there's this like contracting and contracting and contracting. And then in 2023 is when it's going to start shifting to like an opening and an opening, like a woman in labor. And then 2027 is what it's like, that's when we're at the new thing. And so it's going to continue being like this for another 2 years. And then we're going to see the shift thing, which is interesting because I just said 3 years earlier as far as the social credit score, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know how that's going to work out, but man, yeah, there's a quickening, like a woman in labor right now. A quickening. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. And it feels like the contractions are getting tighter and tighter and tighter, even though as that's happening, I personally feel that there's this really huge shift happening at the same time, which is a greater awareness, I think.
Oh, for sure.
Collectively, yeah. I think there's more people that are just feeling more expanded mentally, feeling more expanded emotionally. It's hard to even describe what that feels like, but I can sense that. And it's weird to see, because I asked myself, well, like, where are we going to be, say 2030? Because 2030 is supposed to be the next big Segway, according to UN agenda in 2020, 2030, is that's a point that they have down in their calendar as going to be the big reset that they're talking about, right? But I have a feeling that it's not going to go in that direction, because I feel like people are going to really take advantage of whatever this waveform of energy that's coming through, this sort of uplifting consciousness that's going on. I think that it's ultimately, I have a good feeling for humanity, but it's definitely kind of scary when you go reptilian and you go, oh my God, you're not looking at solutions. All you see is the problem. I think really people need to get out of the problem. Even all the really awake people that are really aware that's happening, there's still a lot of those people that are stuck in the problem.
They're so problem focused. I've been on I've been on a few podcasts and also in Clubhouse, which is an app, and I get on there and I'm a guest on these Clubhouses, and I don't have the time or mental capacity right now, or I don't want to put it into like creating my own channel and stuff. So I end up being a guest, and I get on there, and that's essentially what I'm saying is like, everything I'm hearing from people in this channel or on the Clubhouse or on social media over and over again is bad on Bill Gates, bad on this, bad on that, bad on that. And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, we could replace Bill Gates. We could replace, if any of these people could be replaced, and there'd still be that same agenda, that same drive. In the end, we have to look at what is the state of mind. An agenda is based on a state of mind. An agenda is based on a belief system. That belief system exists outside of Bill Gates or the Queen of England or whoever you want to blame today. But people are so fear-minded, focused on who is the bad guy and what's the bad guy doing, that they're not stepping back and going, what is the state of mind? What is the belief system? Because belief systems will exist whether kingdoms rise or fall. And when we focus correctly, and the faster we can get to that as humanity, we will realize the belief systems where we need to shift. That's what we need to focus on. That's our strength. That's shifting little by little, but not fast enough. Like there's so many people out there right now about the vaccine that are like, you know, if you just do this and take that and do this and do this and take that. And I mean, on both sides, right? Pro-vax, anti-vax. Instead of actually looking at the fact that what's going on with the belief system of what's going on and how we are looking at the facts of COVID-19. Are we looking at it through victimhood? Are we looking at it through fear? How are we looking at the actual facts overall? Because if I'm looking at those facts and I'm coming in with this mindset of I'm going to die, I'm going to be looking at grasping straws from a vaccine, from a supplement, from a pill, from whatever. If I'm looking at these facts and I'm going, all right, what are ways to strengthen my immune system because I'm strong, right? And I believe in that. I know that I'm strong. Then you're going to make more logical, rational decisions when you look at a vaccine, when you look at a supplement or a vitamin or whatever it may be. And then the rebuttal to that I get is, well, what if I am sick? What if I am that? And I said, then that should be what you're working on. Again, you should be working on how do I increase and support my immune system. Neuroimmunology is a field of study not being discussed, yet neuroimmunology trumps what the vaccine rates are even possible to do. Neuroimmunology would support your immune system based on your neural pathways. Your neural pathways directly correlate with your immune system for every bacteria, for every virus. The vaccine at best is for one type of viral strain. That's it. Imagine supporting your immune system for every type of bacteria and every type of virus. That's what neuroimmunology does. Like, why are we not discussing that? And so that's what I mean by like, we need to be stepping back and looking at better ways to ask better questions, better ways to approach these belief systems. And that comes by being able to ask why, when, how, where, what do I feel? What do I think?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's having the conversation, right? So it comes back to that. It's like, there's not enough of these conversations happening. I think the conversations are happening more and more with people, but again, it's not just talking about the problem. We can talk about the problem and let's talk about the solutions. And I think the more that starts happening, you're going to start to see more of a spread. There's a lot of people that I follow that have tons of people following them. They get a lot of traction with their uncovering and unraveling of the problem and things going on. I have not really seen too much of what the solution is. And it's usually always at the very end of the conversation. And they go, okay, this is a pretty doomy and gloomy type conversation. So do you have any good news? And it's always like, well, I have some hope for humanity. I'm like, oh, wait a second here. It's like, we need to have more of a definitive kind of approach and idea. You're right. It all starts with an idea. Everything is a belief structure. The beliefs come from ideas. Everything in our world, from the houses that we live in, the cars we drive in, everything is all just an idea. And nothing is really written in stone the way I think that we've allowed ourselves to believe things to be. We're not finite. And that's another good point. I think we get stuck in the finite mentality because we look at it as birth and death as being the end. We look at our lives as being finite. So how easy is it for us to fall into the mindset of, well, everything in life is finite, including all the things that I'm learning in school and learning from the government and being sucked into my brain. Well, when people get out of the mindset that they are not finite, that you are boundless and you are infinite, and it's simple as looking at the most basic science that everyone knows: energy is neither created nor destroyed. Everyone is energy. You cannot get away from that fact. We may not remember, but there's probably a reason why we don't remember, right? There's reasons for all this stuff. It's not even to me having faith that you're an infinite being. It's the science, the real science is proving that you I have neither been created nor destroyed. You're going to continue going around and evolutionizing and becoming more expansive in consciousness. And once people will get into that idea foundationally, everything will grow from that, you know, it will. And anyway, yeah, basic stuff, right? It's just basic stuff, but it's profound stuff. It's profound.
It's very profound, but it is very simple.
Yeah,
it's
very simple.
To profound.
Yes. And I think it's just, I feel like, you know, more and more people start, you know, getting into that state of mind and allowing themselves the freedom of saying, I'm an infinite being, you know, with infinite potential. And every day, tell yourself that.
Okay, but you know what? I will say this. I see that happening, and that's been happening for a little while now. Since around the 70s, there's been like that return of that, of like, I'm an infinite being, meditating, praying, you know. But what's happening is they're getting a portion, but not the whole. The other part of that is, and as an infinite being, I still have accountability in this authority, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's not just I'm an infinite being, it's all fine. You know, there's a lot of great teachers that taught that way. And they're like, well, it doesn't matter. I don't need to eat. I don't need to do this. I exist because I exist. No, you exist to also co-create. You exist to be part of the whole. You exist to express. What are you doing with the time that you're given, with the energy that you are using? What are you doing with it? Because then at least this very like nihilistic belief system, I guess. Well, it's like, it doesn't matter. And I'm not even whatever. And it doesn't, you know, no, you do matter.
It's very right-brained, and that's the part of the polarity is that I know what I just said sounds very new age, but the thing is, it's not a new age idea, because you're right. You have to bring in the other side of this, which is you have a responsibility. Now you're in this body. You are an infinite being.
You're using energy from the universe as you're existing. Like, we're eternal beings, but this matter that I exist in, the energy that I take in, I'm using this. And even people that are like, yeah, all I eat is vegan and I only eat plants. Those plants have feelings. I teach my students, I've shown so many links of research that plants don't want to be eaten. They let off hormones and chemicals when you cut them, when you prune them. They actually have what would be equivalent to human emotions. It's just in a very different way. It's through hormone receptors, but nothing wants to be eaten. Nothing wants to end their life. Nothing wants to be harmed. So this belief system of, I'm just going to sit here and eat spinach all day and I'm not going to, no, you're here owning it, saying, okay, I am taking energy from a plant. You are. I am taking energy from an animal. You are. What are you doing with it? That's the accountability. Instead of living in the lie of like, it doesn't matter. And I'm eternal and I exist forever. And I'm just a peace being. I get you can be a peace being, but what are you doing with it? What are you creating with it? Because you are partaking in energy. You have accountability in that.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. That's the great, how can I put that? How you blend those two things. Because I think a lot of people get caught up in the left brain, or some people get caught up in the right brain, and there's not a union between the two. And you fall into the solipsistic moral relativism where, well, you know, God is going to take care of everything. It's all God's plan. And
you see that in the church too. I see that in the church. Like, we're just going to pray about it. And I believe it. I'm a Bible believing Christian. I believe in praying for things. I do, you know, come boldly before the throne. Jesus Christ himself said, you have not because you ask not. That wasn't an encouragement. That was that was admonishing them, saying like, dude, why are you not asking? You can come boldly before my throne. Like, what are you doing about this? At the same time, there's this, you know, it doesn't matter what belief system you are, New Age, Christian, all these religions of like, well, God will just take care of it. No, what are you doing about it? You bring it before God, but then you have stuff to do about it. You know, you can go to your parents and be like, hey, I'm really hungry. Okay, are you going to get something out of the kitchen though? Right? Hey, I'm really tired. All right, are you going to make yourself go to bed? Because it doesn't matter. All of us know it doesn't matter how much a parent puts you to bed. If you don't choose to go to sleep, it doesn't matter how much you say, Dad, I'm tired. Dad, I'm tired. Dad, I'm tired. Yeah, but are you closing your eyes? Are you turning off your electrical things? Are you turning off your phone? Are you choosing to get sleep? You know, hey, I'm really bored. Hey, God, I'm really bored. Or God, I'm really sad. Or God, I really want food. Okay, well, what are you doing about it? Yes, bring those things, and those things are provided for, and he's part of that. But what are you doing in accountability with that?
Right. That's very well said. That brings that to me brings this together like this. It brings the one left brain way of thinking, which is, you know, like you want mom and dad to, you know, to make all your meals. You want mom and dad to do everything for you. Right. And then you go into the other side of the thinking, which is like, well, everything is always provided. What my life doesn't really mean anything in the middle of it. That whole concept or mental polarity pulling apart. I think when you really bring them together, you brought it together well, was, yes, we are infinite. Yes, we have, aspects of creator in us, which makes us infinite and boundless beings, infinite potential, I should say. But at the same time, we have a very profound and deep responsibility while we're here. And it's our responsibility to figure out what that is, you know what I mean? And it could be anything. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to go out and become some, expert speaker on any subject. It really could just be somebody who is challenging themselves on a day-to-day basis with concepts and evolutionizing their own consciousness by paying attention and observing. And I like one of the other things you always said, you have to have fun. It's always about playing and being playful in this world. I think that is probably one of the biggest challenges for most people, is learning how to truly enjoy life and really be expressive, right? That is a very deep responsibility, I think, that we have. Because if God wants anything, it wants justice, and he wants for people to really feel how it feels to be alive, right? I mean,
oh yeah, the experience of experience. Yeah, God told me that years ago. He said, Jennifer, tell people we are here to experience the experience of experiencing. And I remember when he said that, I was like, that sounds really redundant. How am I going to say that? And I started saying it to people, and I can't tell you how many people are like, what? Yes, and it's really true. All this is just an experience, and how little we get from it or how much we get from it, how upset we are with it, how happy we are with it. That's all of our choosing. It's our choosing, it is.
That's free will. I think that's where that free will comes in, is that there is a choice, even if we want to be brainwashed and we want to watch entertainment, we want to watch movies all the time, we want to believe everything, that's a choice. I mean,
it is,
it's a choice to allow the TV boxes to do the thinking for us, but it's also a choice to say, you know what, I don't want that anymore. I'm going to go into this big, scary, dark forest and see what happens here. You know what I mean? And you start realizing it's not as big and scary as you think it is. The world maybe, yes, but not your own.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this podcast, man. I'm not even kidding. I think this might be one of my favorite ones we've done.
Yeah, no, I love the conversation.
Although awesome. I think I do it every time too.
It's always a really fun conversation, that's for sure. So I guess we can wrap it up pretty soon here. I wanted to, I was thinking about, plugging the docuseries here. We got part 1's finished. I put it up on YouTube kind of temporarily just to test it, to see what YouTube would do with it. I will say that I started a new channel, and they took the video down right away. They wiped it, but they
What about if you try BitChute?
Well, I'm going to do this. What I'm going to do. I changed my channel name. Okay. So it's now officially Living Library Productions. It's got all 5 videos that are on there, but it's just a different channel name. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to post part 1, which is all about the link between radiation and disease, which is a great podcast. Tons of amazing information. I learned a lot actually researching, doing the B-roll on that part.
That's awesome.
Part 2, we're going to come out probably. I'm going to post part 1 probably today or tomorrow. So whatever you can do to get the word out there and get people watching it, it's really
send me a link and I'll post it on places.
I will for sure. I'm going to put it on YouTube and BitChute, and then part 2 is all wrapped up. I finished that up yesterday. Awesome. I sent you the link to it. Whenever you get some time, watch it.
Yesterday I went from 4 a.m. until like midnight, so I can look at it later tonight. But
whenever you get time, I'm going to put that out in probably a week or 2, and I'm probably going to space out the different parts. We're probably going to end up having about 4 or 5 parts. I can't wait to get to the one we're talking about, ADEs, because I think that is really important.
So important.
I think, and I'm going to kind of come back a little bit too and say this, that I didn't realize how much I didn't know until I started actually putting the B-roll together for everything that you talked about. So it's been a very educational process. So I think that a lot of people are going to get a lot.
That's awesome. It's great that you're going in there and doing that, because and having walked through this, I can say this stuff in layman's terms, but I don't have like the I don't have the, here's where I got it, here's where I got it, here's where I got it, because it's been years. It's been years. Like at this point, I can say it in layman's terms because it's like a second language to me. Like I just talking about it, you know? So it's really awesome that you're going through and doing that in the B-roll and doing that research and putting that support in there for all of that, because then it gives the people the ability to go through and walk through it like you have. You know what I mean? Like they hear it, and they hear it in layman's terms. That's enough to pique their interest and go, oh my gosh, what she said? That can't be true. And then like go in there to all those places, which is good, because I'm honestly, if it wasn't for you doing all that, I'm so burned out on this. God's like, I'm just done. Like,
yeah, you're moving on. I know it. You're definitely, you go fast, you go really fast. And I think what I'm kind of doing here is kind of taking what you did and pulling it back a little bit. And I'm hoping that it reaches a pretty decent audience, because it's really great information, and it gives people an opportunity, and hopefully gives people an opportunity and inspiration to research things. And that's one thing I definitely heard a lot of people say. And I, in 100% agreement, you have to look into things. If you're not willing to look into things, and that just means that you're like, ignorance is bliss. I know there's something going on, but I just don't want to know. It's like, it's okay to know. It's like research, look into things, and you're gonna learn so much about this world, and things are gonna start to like be like, holy smokes, like there's a lot of lies happening here, folks. There's a lot of things going on in medical institutions, like a lot of things happening with the economy that you didn't know about, a lot of things happening with shadow governments, and the people who really run this world, and what's really going on. And it's going to open a lot of doors, and it's actually very fun. It's very fascinating. And you're going to start to go, wow, just by knowing this, I feel a sense of freedom, and a sense of knowingness that I never knew before. All just from a little bit of research.
Also, is there a way for me to, I think I can link those on my actual website. So when people come in as traffic, I can link it on my website, and that way they can go to the BitChute or the YouTube. Yeah. So I'll talk to Jessica about that.
Okay. Yeah, perfect too. And then
so I need the BitChute link and the YouTube.
Yeah, I don't have it up on BitChute yet, but I'm gonna post part 1 today. Actually, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna post it today. I'll send you the link. I'll put it on BitChute, and then that way, if it gets taken off of YouTube, at least the link for the BitChute will be there.
And then my other thought is, I really want to do a podcast as far as like female things with Tracy. I don't want to make her commit to every week, but I really do. And I keep coming back to it again and again. I really always enjoyed having those conversations with Tracy as far as the YouTube, as far as when I was trying to do that. It's a really great dynamic. She slows me down, which is really good, because I'm too fast, and I'm very much a storyteller, but somebody has to like put it in print or slow it down, and so I love that she does that. But what are your thoughts on putting that on Living Library? And that way we just have
I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea.
Because the idea of me beginning another project by myself, yet she's really who I want to do it with as far as these conversations. And so if we just like streamlined it all, and it's not like a separate thing, it's just sometimes it's you and I talking, sometimes it's her and I talking about the more feminine stuff. That'd be really, I don't know what your thoughts are on it, so think about it, but I think that would be a really easy way that I could do that, where I'm like, okay, this is actually being done and worked.
She would. She asked me a lot too. Like, we'd be like, let's go do a live, or let's go just do a podcast. I think that this would be a good way to like generate that movement going. If you guys could do a one a week podcast, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I was talking to her about it last night. I wanted to, so what God put on my heart is write down 20 ideas of what I really want to talk about. Plug her as a practitioner. That way, like they can access her as a practitioner. And that way we have a list of what they are, instead of like last minute, hey, what are we going to talk about? And commit to a certain amount of time. Like we need to commit to either 3 months or 6 months. That way people can start not doing next. Because Jennifer, I do that too much. I do next, right? So me committing, but if I commit to something, I'm committed to it. So me committing to it and saying, okay, well, how long do we want to commit to it for? Are we going to do that for 6 months with Living Library or whatever it is? Or are we going to do it for 3 months? So talking through that and seeing. And that way, then when I plug it on the website, instead of plugging each one, I can just plug Living Library. And this is where we're doing these things.
Yeah.
And they can find this research and information and the conversations about it.
Yeah, that's perfect too. And then if you have anything like links to anything that you're talking about, send the links to me, and then I can plug the link into YouTube or BitChute. That's perfect. I mean, I want to get more podcasts kicking on Living Library. Previously,
Me too. I love it. I love doing the podcast. I really do. This is the place, like I told Tracy last night, this is the place where I play. The other stuff, I'm doing it and I get it because of the finances and getting it out there. And I really want people to have access to doing stuff. But I really enjoy doing the podcast a lot, for sure.
Yeah, it's really fun. And I think we get some good information out there sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to let you go. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right, Jen. Thank you so much. We will
Thank
be in
you.
touch.
Bye.
Bye.